Critical discussion around design is as important as the design process itself. If you work in a design team, feedback from your colleagues can keep you challenged and can push you to improve. Despite its value to the outcome of the design process, it's far too often avoided like a trip to the dentist because we subconsciously feel criticism of our work is not just a reflection on our design, but is a spotlight upon our personal shortcomings. But nothing could be further from the truth. Proper design criticism can help us focus on goals, outcomes, and the needs of the users. Critique is a corrective step in the process that allows different ways of thinking to reach common ground. For example, comprising on visual versus technological requirements. Critiquing an unfinished design mitigates the risk of completely missing a project's ultimate goals. Acting as a wedge in the creative process, good feedback can readjust the design message and help us figure out what we're really trying to say. Sharing your work at any stage can make you feel vulnerable, but discussing it lends credence to the design process. Here are 3 steps to keep in mind when critiquing work. Criticism should be honest and constructive. Nobody wins if the discussion is simply an exchange of warm fuzzies. The goal of every critique is to discover how to make a design better, not win a gold star for perfection. If you have a lot of feedback to offer that you think might be a little tough for a colleague to take, start with the positive. First, tell your designer what aspects you like about the piece, whatever they may be. Be descriptive. Instead of just saying, "I like it," explain why you like it while using specific examples from the design whenever possible. Talk about the details. Let the designer know you took the time to notice every aspect. This will help establish trust and credibility as you become more critical. Next, move on to constructive criticism. If you think certain aspects of the design aren't working, try to explain why or offer suggestions on how they can be improved. Asking the designer questions may help them see problems in the execution of the design that they may not have seen on their own. You may also want to limit your use of personal pronouns, like "you," to make sure your critique is about the design work, not about the designer. We all feel personally about our work, but during a critique, it's best to separate the person from the piece. For example, say you have a critique about a line intersection. You may want to say, "This way this line intersects with that line," instead of "the way you intersected this line with that line." This will help reassure the designer that the criticism is about the work and not about them as a designer. Qualify any criticism with alternative ideas. You can't just say that you don't like things and you don't know why. Offering ideas is the #1 thing you can do for a successful critique, because this is where the design begins to transform. Good ideas stand out as obvious and can serve to turn around a wayward design very quickly. Also, remember to use good design principles and terminology with your feedback. You don't have to agree or like the decisions of the designer, but their work deserves honest feedback. Put yourself in their shoes. If they are brave enough to share their work and ask for feedback, then they deserve to get that, both the good and the bad. When you're the recipient of a design critique, rule #1 is to listen. Your first impulse might be to defend each and every criticism, but that will kill the conversation and won't give you the opportunity to really consider the suggestions being offered. So listen and take it all in, then provide your thoughtful response after your colleagues have spoken. During a critique, it's important that when you hear the good and the bad feedback to take it with stride. Design isn't math, and there are no right and wrong answers, only subjective opinions that may differ from one designer to another. That being said, remember that a critique is about your work and making it the best it can be. It shouldn't be about you. If you disagree with specific feedback, explain your decisions thoughtfully, but also listen to what's being said. Remember, those who are giving critiques generally do so because they want to help you grow as a designer, so try not to get defensive or take their criticisms personally. Knowing that your designs are subject to critical feedback will change the way you design. It's much harder to defend a design decision you made because you liked the way it looks, which will lead you to make smarter decisions that are driven by the project goals and user needs. You really can't call yourself a designer if you can't give and take criticism. Even the greatest designers of all time are subject to some criticism. When we stop evaluating our work, we stop growing. The sting you might feel from criticism of your work is just a growing pain as your mind expands. Embrace it because it's going to lead you to new heights in your career.